Hello, so I wanted to talk today about a Gridwork experience that I had a few years ago. And if you're not familiar with Gridwork, it is in essence working with the grids of the earth, working with the ley lines, working with different energy centers. And a lot of people are grid workers and they don't even realize that they are. And I was thinking about this experience that I had last night, and I was like, oh, I feel like I should share this story. And I also feel that there are a lot of people who are grid workers who are being activated at the moment, and so perhaps that's why I'm feeling called to share this story. I also have a longer video on gridwork that I released, must have been last year sometime, maybe even around this time last year. And it's going to be it is a lot longer than this video is probably going to be, so I'll probably link that below if you want to check it out. And so yeah, as a grid worker as well, you might be called to clear locations where there have been a lot of death, where there's still a lot of like deceased spirits hanging around. It can take so many different forms. It might look interplanetary, it might look like clearing certain bodies of water. It really just depends. And so this experience for me was when I was traveling in Guatemala. So around the end of the pandemic, I bought a one-way ticket to Mexico, and I was like, I am getting out of here. This is not where I want to be right now. And so I went to Mexico and eventually ended up going to Guatemala. And if you're kind of familiar with the sort of history of Guatemala, it was only in 1996, I think, that there was the civil war there ended. And you know, different people might say different things. For me, I could very much quite palpably feel the sadness and the grief and the loss of the land there. And to me, there almost felt like there was just this undercurrent of like a little bit of unrest, and that could be me reading those Akashic records that the land holds that still haven't shifted, you know. And so I could feel that very, very palpably as soon as I was there. And you know, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful country, and you know, if you feel called to go there, I would really recommend it. And a very magical land there. And so I had some grid work kind of tasks sent to me etherically, shall we say. And it was some really kind of intense grid work. Like when you first start, you're probably not gonna be sent to locations that are kind of more than what you can deal with. You know, it can even start as small as people feeling really called to like clear up litter in their area. You know, all of that can be considered grid work because you're working with the earth and you're working with her energetically. And it felt to me, kind of when I was kind of towards the tail end of my time in Mexico, and then when I went to Guatemala, it felt like everything turned up a notch in terms of the things that I was dealing with. And so, and I go into that more in my other video, but for this, I ended up in Lake Atitlan. And everybody, you know, if you've been to Guatemala and you're into that sort of, you know, the otherworldly experiences, you will hear people talk about how the energy there is really intense. Like it is very much a vortex. And there are 5 little towns around the lake, and you get these little boat taxis between each town. And I, you know, was sort of going from town to town, and every time I would go to this particular town, I would have these really weird experiences. And it was like it was almost like, you know, someone would be like really sort of aggressive with me, or it was just the way people looked there, you know, from the local people to the tourists to, you know, there was just a funny energy there. And I was like, it feels like the people at this part of the lake are like experiencing some form of like demonic possession or something. That was how I was reading the energy. And you know, I was sort of, the first time it happened, I was like, oh, that was really weird. And I was staying in another part of the lake, so I was like, you know, I'll go back again to that town and I'll see, you know, if anything sort of happens again. And again, I had the same sort of experiences, and I was like, okay, this is really weird. And I also at one point was gonna go and stay at, because I still felt like sort of magnetically pulled to that part of the town as well, because that's kind of where a lot of the spiritual events are, and ecstatic dance and, you know, are sort of held in that particular area. And I remember I'd seen a room advertised, and I was like, right, oh, I'm gonna go check it out. Yes, it's in that place where, you know, weird stuff always happens, but, you know, I'm gonna go check it out. And when I went, the guy who I spoke to just gave me like the weirdest energy. And when I was talking to him, I could literally see a gray alien like talking through him. And he's like, yeah, you know, what do you think? And, you know, ostensibly the place seemed quite ideal, apart from the fact that I was like, this place is like infested with entities. And, you know, they do a lot of plant medicine ceremonies on that part of the land as well. And, you know, if you don't do those in full integrity, you can really open doorways to the lower astral. And anyway, so I was like, okay, this isn't, you know, and I actually did have like the money with me to put it down for a deposit if I did actually like it. And I was just like, yeah, like I'm just gonna have to go away, think about it, kind of thing. And I messaged my friend who is, you know, we're in the sort of same line of work, and she's super psychic. And I was like, am I picking this up wrong, or is there like a hard no for me staying in that place? And she was like, do not stay there. Like, it is way off. The energy is way off. And I was like, right, okay. So, and I started to feel like, okay, maybe the magnetic pull that I'm experiencing is because I'm meant to do some kind of work with this lake, because there's something going on here. And so I contacted a few of my friends who are, you know, in the same line of work, and I was like, look, there's something going on here with this lake, and like we need to like remote view it, we need to like see what's going on, because this is like it's really intense, you know. And sorry, I'm just remembering one of the experiences I had, and this woman was like so aggressive with me, and I'm just feeling, yeah, like, whoa, that was intense. So anyway, I contacted these friends of mine, and we were like, right, let's all get together online, and we're all gonna just feel into what's going on here. And as soon as we all started tuning into the lake, we're like, there's this massive almost like demonic vortex wormhole thing in the or portal rather, in that particular town where I kept having the weird experiences. Not only that, there's also a portal been opened in the lake, and we could see this being that was chained in the lake, and it looked like, you know, if you're from Scotland, you'll definitely know, but if you're not, you may have heard of it still. Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. That's what it looked like. It looked like it had this long neck, almost like a diplodocus kind of dinosaur, but it had fins, and it was like it was chained. And obviously this is existing etherically, you know, I'm not saying that if we'd have taken a team of divers down there, we would have found this being. But etherically, it was there. We all saw the same thing. And we were like, right, this being has been summoned from a lower astral realm. And we were like, right, how are we gonna clear it? And I was like, I feel like we need to know who did this so we can unweave the magic that they have done. And I don't know where this, you know, as a psychic, as an intuitive, sometimes you just get the hit, you know? And I was like, it was Aldous Huxley. And if you know anything about Aldous Huxley, he wrote Brave New World. His brother, Julian Huxley, is was essentially the founder of the transhumanist movement. And I'm not sure if Aldous Huxley was always working for the sort of negative, like elite kind of forces, or maybe he just didn't quite know what he was doing. You know, and it's kind of an interesting case because he did write Brave New World. Did he write that to kind of warn people? And look up the plot of Brave New World and you'll know what I'm talking about. Or did he write it as a form of predictive programming? It's hard to know exactly. I feel the areas are very, very grey with him. And so, I just knew that was who had summoned it. And I was feeling into this last night. I was like, am I allowed to say like who it was? And my guide said, look, he's passed on, so just, it's fine. So anyway, take from this what you will. But so my friend's like truth testing everything that's coming through. And I was like, it was Aldous Huxley. And my friend was like, yes. Like, I don't know who that is, but yes. And so we've managed to like almost like extract this being's chains and remove the chains and send it back to where it came from. And I actually felt so bad for this being because, you know, it hadn't been trying to like cause issues, you know. It very much felt like it had been summoned and chained there etherically. It wasn't a case of like it was intentionally trying to cause all of this, all of these difficulties. And so from there, we've closed that portal, and then we set about working on the town. And my God, there was so many portals. There were so many I'm even like clearing as I'm talking about it. There were so many reptilian energies, grey alien energies. It was so intense, and we had to like, you know, some of us would have to be working on the portals, other ones were trying to like send the entities back through. And yeah, it was like a lot of work. And for like days afterwards, like sometimes you have psychic kind of clearing, grid work experiences, whatever, and it can be exhausting, you know. It can really take it out of you. And after that experience, it was like it took a good few days for me and for all of my friends as well to recover, because it was such intense work on doing that clearing. And I went back to the town, and I actually ended up staying in that town shortly after that, and it definitely felt a lot lighter. Like we had shifted some big pieces around that, and the lake felt a lot lighter energetically. And before that, I just didn't want to go in the water, and like I'm a Pisces stellium, I love water. And prior to that, I just got such a bad feeling about going in the water. And after we'd done that clearing, I was like, no, I can go in this water. And yeah, there was just a much lighter kind of energy around. And I think it's difficult because really that places like that need cleared a lot, especially if there's a lot of plant medicine being consumed there. That naturally just opens portals, and if they're not being guarded effectively by shamans and things, then, you know, it's gonna potentially cause issues. So if you're going to Guatemala and you are a grid worker, you feel called to that kind of stuff, then maybe maybe see if there's anything you can do. And that's the thing as well, is you can do these things remotely as well. You know, the women I was connecting with, I think they were all in the States or at that point, or maybe one of them was in Europe. And so, you know, you can do things remotely, but it definitely helped that I was actually there at the lake, being like a physical anchor for those etheric energies as well. And it's interesting, and I'd be really interested to see if anyone else has felt this too, but I had mentioned how that being was similar to those kind of pictures that we see or stories that we hear of the Loch Ness monster. And I'm sure I've heard this, I feel like I've heard someone else say this before, but last night when I was remembering this story, I was like, that being looks just like the Loch Ness monster, and that was in Lake Atitlan. And I was like, I would bet that the Loch Ness monster is also an etheric being that has been summoned. And if you are aware at all of this, I don't know, but Aleister Crowley used to have that house right near the Loch Ness, and I feel like he probably summoned something there, because if you're kind of aware of any of Aleister Crowley's dealings, that was the main stuff that he used to get up to. So yeah, I very much feel like there's a lot going on with Loch Ness, and I was sort of feeling into, is there anything that can be sort of done about that? Is there, you know, is that something I should be sort of considering? And I got like hard no, like whatever is there is not ready to move, like karmically it is not in alignment to try and touch it. So I think what was happening at Lake Atitlan, it was obviously just perfect divine timing that being was ready. You know, the energies were like ripe for that being to be sent back, that portal to be closed. And you know, that's the thing with grid work, is like you're always intuiting everything through with the land, with the earth. You know, it's not just like you're like, I'm just gonna go and do this thing of my own accord. It's like it's the land is communicating with you, the land is calling you, the land is going, okay, I need some support here, I need some support there. And you know, so it's very, very sacred work that is, you know, always to be like honored and respected, and it's holy, you know, to be of service to the earth in this way. And for me, throughout my grid work kind of journey, although what I have felt is that I've always been doing grid work on some level, whether consciously or unconsciously, but the older that I've gotten, the more conscious it's been, to now where I know I get messages about very, very specific things, whereas when I was younger, it wasn't really like that. And so, yeah, I feel like it's just about tuning in to the earth. And for me on this journey, it's like the more I have carried out these certain things in connection with the earth, the deeper my connection with her has become, and the more I recognize myself as an extension of the earth, as we all are in this humanly form. And it is a very divine and holy thing to experience. So thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about the Loch Ness monster. And I'm always really keen to connect with other people who are doing this work, or answer any questions for anyone. You know, if you're drawn to this material, there's a very high chance that you probably are on some way, in some level, doing grid work. And don't underestimate how doing things like clearing up your local park, clearing up local bodies of water and things like that are so helpful. And you know, if you want to connect with like fairy realms, if you want to just connect deeper with your guides, connect deeper with the earth, that's such a brilliant place to start. That's where a lot of things, especially with the elemental realms and nature spirits, really started opening up for me, was when I started going out into nature, like, you know, every day, and just like dedicating myself to that. And always, you know, just anytime I saw litter, I'd just pick it up, and I'd just bring a plastic bag with me in my pocket, and I would just pick up whatever I saw. And, you know, that's you showing the land. It's like, hello, I'm here, I see you, like, let's do this together, you know. So yeah, never underestimate that is like deeply profound magical work, in as much as it might look like, or despite the fact that it might look like very mundane activities, it is so often the mundane that brings us closer to spirit. You know, all the amazing mystics that have come and gone, like, you know, Gurdjieff and other people say that it's about your focus in the mundane. How can, you know, your focus when you're doing the dishes, your focus when you're folding laundry, your focus when you're making your bed, that are actually like reflective of deep psychic capacity and ability. So thank you for watching. Take care, look after yourself, let me know about the Loch Ness Monster.